Good morning. I hope you love your life. I love mine. We're doing great, right? We're doing great. Quentin, hope you're doing great. Quentin says, "Good morning. You're first again, Quentin. I've noticed. I noticed who's coming in first. Thomas, good morning, all. I wish there was a way to connect with the people here. We're connecting, Thomas. We're connecting. Indeed, in real life, but you can see a lot of us if you ever come to one of the Bitcoin Magazine events. We'll be in Nashville next summer, right? July 20 something. It's going to be great. Jose, good morning, Bitcoiners. Rainy in Puerto Rico. Well, I can one up you, Jose. I can one up you. I got mega snow here, mega snow falling. And Matt Fry says it the same. It looks like it's happening here and in Vermont. Good morning, team. It's a beautiful snowy morning here in Unterrible. That is indeed what I call it, Matt. Unterrible. That has been my name for it for a long time. It is Unterrible. Ontario, if you guys don't know what I'm referring to. Good and snowy morning in Vermont, Daniel. I do miss Vermont. I have a great hill to slide on right outside of my house, but I'm not there. I'm in Montreal. Good morning, my NPC slaying friends. And that comes from Tommy, who has read the Bitcoiner's Guide to NPC Management and has actually done a bit of art and a beautiful cover for me, which I received yesterday. Thank you, Tommy. It's amazing. The cover is inspired by my own NPC picture with the left and the right and the exit ramp, but he did it better. Early wake up from kids means I can lurk here a bit before getting ready for school. Great, John. We like people who lurk in this show. We're like the lurkers. We're good with the lurkers. Good morning from East Texas, where I can hear the Bitcoin miners humming along. Beautiful, David. We love to hear the Bitcoin miners. What a beautiful sound. Let's go. Good morning, team. Good morning. Another day, 144 blocks of Bitcoin. Things are going great. Morning, Bitcoiners. Another great day indeed. P-Man saying, hey, how are you all enjoying Pumpvember for November, right? Things are going great. I saw we're going crazy this morning. We love it. Looks like ETF news is in the air, right? Good morning, Christine. I'm glad you keep coming. Christine. Loving the pump. Who doesn't? Morning, all. Good morning. We got some more snow here from New Hampshire. We love New Hampshire. Racism. Snow and snow. No snow tires. Uh-oh, P-Man. I never took mine off this year. I got a free pair. My wife scammed Amazon last year. I had lost my winter tires last year around this time. By lost, I mean I had them changed and assumed the people that I had changed them with had gotten rid of them, so I ordered a new pair. But I found out that day they hadn't. They called me and said, "Hey, we have your snow tires," and I knew I had about a season left. They're almost dead, and so they delivered them. So my wife we tried to cancel within an hour. It was just a weird coincidence. The place called me the minute I ordered the new pair, so we canceled within like an hour. But they had sent them anyway. And then instead of us mailing them back and their big tires, they no shit said, just keep them. And they're like the best Pirelli winter tires you'll ever find. So they're just sitting at my place in Vermont. I have a little bit left on the ones that I drove all through the summer. But there you go. Boring tire stories, guys. Sorry about that. If you live in snow, you know that it's an important subject right now. So our NPC Slayers sounds badass. Yeah, well, we're going to be slaying some NPCs. Good morning from El Salvador, where I assume it's not snowing. It's snowing here, Johnny. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get much more than that. Good morning. Great. Yeah, we're going to talk about Vivek. We are going to talk about Vivek for sure. We love the Vivek stuff. Good morning, everyone. But let's first acknowledge we know there's snow, but I can tell you through the snow, I've seen the sunrise. We've got some bright light behind it. It's gray, but it's the sun nevertheless. Bitcoin running no problem. Look at those prices. Crazy. All that's left for us to do is have a coffee and talk about what is new. Pump coffee. We love it. It's the most delicious kind. All right. I got a pretty good Moscow time today. Maybe the best. I say that a lot, but you forget just how amazing some of these headlines are. So every time you read them, you're like, how is this not the best one ever? Let's get started slowly with some Vox. Okay, Vox coming out. They got Emily Stewart. Okay, Emily Stewart from Vox. Is she an economist? Look what she says. The problem isn't inflation, it's prices. Oh, why didn't I think of that? Shit, Emily. She covers business and economics for Vox. Okay, guys, it's not inflation, it's just prices. All right, if you have a problem with inflation, just remember, they can change the price anytime they want, right? And why not? They can lose money, it's sure, right? So anytime I go in and I say that car, it's the problem here is that your price is too high. Okay, just lower the price. Just lower it, guys. It's no problem. I got two amazing ones from Scientific American this morning because I went around looking for some fake news today. And these ones are again, I couldn't write a better headline myself if I was trying. Okay. Scientific American. This is on cognition. Okay. They're saying this out loud in 2023. And I guess scientists are proving this. Okay. This is what they actually are saying in Scientific American. Are you ready? People pay attention better today than 30 years ago. Really? A rise in IQs in recent decades is mirrored by a trend showing an increase in adults' ability to concentrate. That's exactly what I'm seeing. All I see is just a bunch of focused adults with amazing cognition and just incredibly precise ability to wade through the facts and details of every case. I've never seen such amazing. We're pushing the boundaries of human limits with our amazing attention spans these days. So Scientific American, right? Now, you might think they're totally wrong and that people are actually smooth brain idiots that need dopamine every split second of the day in order to go forward. Okay. So that might be your observation. Okay. But your observation might be wrong because look where they have their scientific stuff going on this next one. This is Scientific American again, right? Again, quitting cows could have big environmental impacts, but it's harder than it sounds. Eating less beef, cheese, and ice cream would slash emissions, but removing cattle from our agricultural system isn't easy, guys. It's not easy, okay? Scientific American, we love you. You're the best. Okay, so now it looks like everything in Ukraine is going to shit, right? And there's going to be no win there. So what's going on over there? Now they're starting to talk about drafting women. Okay, if not me, who? As Ukraine seeks troops, women prepare for the call. With so much in the war against Russia hinging on refilling the ranks of soldiers, efforts are underway to enlist more women. That's what they need. That's what they need. Right? They need more women in the fight. That's going to do it. That's going to do it. All right. Speaking of women in the fight and Ukraine, Peter Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transport or something, went yesterday to Ukraine to meet with Zelensky, right? Now, I don't know if Zelensky heard, but Peter Buttigieg don't got no money to give him. Okay, so Buttigieg goes there and they shake hands and all that. So this is a fake news headline. Buttigieg makes surprise visit to Ukraine. But what you didn't know, right, is that right after when Zelensky found out that Buttigieg doesn't have any money, right? He kicked him out. How did he find out he didn't have any money? Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene told him, right? So Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congressman, is passing a bill or something or some kind of something in the Congress, which would reduce Buttigieg's salary to $1. And she gave her reasons for it. And I just got to read them because they're amazing, right? They're amazing. I mean, so it's failure to serve the American people. And then she specifically pointed out, he did those fake bike rides. People have it on camera where his like train of SUVs arrive at a place and they showed him opening the back and getting out and riding the bike for the last like 25 meters in order to make it seem like it. And they have it all sort of, they caught him doing it. But this is the best part, right? This is why she's taking away his money. She says, Pothole Pete staged fake bike rides to the White House and used private planes funded by taxpayers to receive awards for the way certain people have sex. He received awards for the way he had sex. She's really funny. He received a reward for the way he had sex. I haven't stopped laughing. I haven't stopped laughing. Now, if you didn't know, we're going to go into a little more. We'll save this one, right? We'll save this one. My last ones here are Moscow timey, but also real. Like the line is blurring, right? So first up, let me just read you the CNBC headline. It's not quite my last Moscow time, but we're going to get into our theme, and then we're going to layer a little bit more Moscow time into the theme, right? I got a couple that just they fit in the theme in both, so I got to keep them there. So this is from CNBC. This is an actual headline from this morning, right? High-end brothels serviced elected officials, tech, pharma execs, military brass. Elected officials, tech, pharma executives, military officers, doctors, and government contractors with security clearances were among the clients of pricey brothels around Boston and Eastern Virginia, federal prosecutors say. So we've got a little bit of blackmail going on, apparently. A lot of people bringing that up today. We get Cernovich saying blackmail operations. That's why people you vote for don't do what they are voted for to do. Also, Madison Cawthorn was driven out of Congress for whistleblowing this. Who's Madison Cawthorn? If you don't remember, he's the fellow who was in the wheelchair, right? So he was a congressman, young, great-looking fella in a wheelchair. Trump loved him. I think Trump even gave him some kind of surrogacy role while he was there. But he got blown out of the 2022 midterms. He lost his North Carolina congressional seat. And it turns out that the Republican National Commission, the Republican Party, didn't support him and give him any money. So he was non grata. And why was he non grata? Well, I got a few of the details on the story. So it turns out that he was invited to a drug-fueled orgy by fellow politicians in the media and political establishment, so they destroyed him. So there's another article here in the New York Times, 3 charged with running prostitution service used by politicians and others. That was this morning. So this is again in this Boston case, right? So Madison Cawthorn, it turns out, was blowing the whistle on blackmail that looks like it's at scale. Right, it looks like we have blackmail that is, pretty important. Let's say, right now, if you think of the blackmail situation, right, it would make sense. It would make sense after however many years of the system being run the way it would, that a lot of blackmail would be involved. Blackmailers would have infiltrated the U.S. system. Just why not? If that's where power is held, they would go there, right? So. If you remember what we said yesterday, when it came to Jesse Waters talking about what was going on the southern border, there's a lot of people who believe that Joe Biden is easily blackmailed. And that's why the border is open, right? There are people out there who believe that Trump is unblackmailable because they've got all this dirt on him and he just simply doesn't give a shit and won't react and won't change, right? So there are many people who believe that the thing that Trump actually has that makes him different is that he doesn't respond to the blackmail. Everyone else responds to the blackmail. He doesn't, right? So there's a way to sort of take this blackmailing thing and make it make sense of almost all the stupidity that's going on in our government. It, in fact, also helps you understand why all the brainwashing, why all the hiding of things. And in the end, it can almost explain why we have such stupid bureaucrats in America, because the politicians who are blackmailed simply do not want to take responsibility or admit to what they're doing, right? So one of the main tricks is to actually brainwash the people who have to go on the front line and defend the government. That's the bureaucracy that I'm talking about, right? So for a long time, I've been talking about how the calibration or the scale or the way we've tailored government after World War II, which is to have this huge bureaucracy, has actually created a thing where the accountability is shirked from the elected officials, right? We've talked about it a lot with the power of the purse. What do these omnibus bills do in the end? What they do in the end is they make sure that politicians are never accountable for the vote they take. You throw everything together and they say, well, I had to vote for it. I got the thing I wanted. Even though I had to vote for the distasteful thing I didn't like, I got what I wanted. So that's how the system works, and it makes sense. Now, there might be an element of truth that it might have to work a little bit like that, but we don't even have the capacity to pass any bills anymore, right? So it's the way it's been going, it looks like, for a long time. And that's why you end up having public officials that act this way or bureaucrats that act this way. And I'm talking, of course, again about remember the mental illness patient from 2 days ago that was screaming and cursing at people during the elections? I was talking about him, right? Where I don't actually see an opinion anymore. When I look at most Democrats, I don't actually see opinions any longer. I only see mental illness. I only see people who are either spurting talking points that they have been downloaded into their brain, and usually because of some insane blackmail situation where a person's trying to like get the scent off them. So they start pumping these lies out there to get people to repeat them, and then that's what you get, right? So you get this fella, his name is Brendan Anthony Martin. So it turns out he was a fella who was heckling Trump a while ago. He just walks around just being mentally disturbed. But we find out now that this guy is actually a public servant. He's a bureaucrat. So Colin Rugg and Marco Polo, the guy who did the Hunter Biden laptop, both looked into this guy's background. They find out that he is a full-time technical administrator for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services foster care system, according to his LinkedIn account, right? And someone says, this guy should be nowhere near kids just because of his mental illness. Now, maybe that's the case, right? But this idea that there is that much blackmail going on, that politicians not accountable financially, not accountable even in policy, will continue to pump hatred into other people's brains in order for them to do these kinds of things, right? So that's why this is the other fake news story that I have. I've got MSNBC, right, today. This is an opinion. Fetterman's Senate campaign is a teaching moment, they say, right? Disabled Americans have the right to be represented and, most importantly, to work. And that work includes working for the U.S. government. This is a MSNBC headline, okay? John Fetterman's campaign could have a meaningful impact on disabled people, right? So going on about the disabled people that are running and why disabled people should be running and why it's so important to have these folks. Again, the idea that we have this much blackmail going on, this much lack of responsibility. Here's what Oilfield Rando says. You just knew he was, and he's talking about this mental patient that was cursing the fella at the polls, who's an actual bureaucrat, right? You just knew he was a federal bureaucrat from the video, but having it confirmed is still mind-blowing, right? You don't change the course of this country without decimating the bureaucracies. Just a years-long process of Old Testament-style destruction. Now, Oilfield Rando has used the word decimate incorrectly here. Decimate is not enough. Decimate is by 1/10, to reduce by 1/10. It's an old Roman thing, right? You reduce by 1/10. You need to annihilate. You don't want a bureaucracy after this. You don't want one, right? We're going to get into why, but you don't want one. After all we've learned, we must shrink the government down to its actual elemental sizes. That is the elected representatives themselves, and that's it, right? And why do we know it's time for that? Well, did anyone see the debate last night? Did anyone see what happened last night with the Republicans? Vivek Ramaswamy was head and shoulders above all of them. And he's a different fellow. He's not cut from this bureaucrat cloth. He's not cut from this political cloth, right? He comes from wealth, his own wealth that he made himself, like Trump. And like Trump, he is a sovereign individual in the sense that he can't be blackmailed and manipulated by a system that would say, oh, you need a job. Oh, you got to. He's not Nikki Haley. He's not Tim Scott. He's none of these people. He doesn't need the system itself in order to stay there. So Madison Cawthorn was actually at his event last night. Madison Cawthorn said, so he had a pre-event before the debate, Vivek did. Madison said, I am a 100% and forever Donald Trump, greatest president of all time supporter. That's what Madison said, right? But he says, if anything were ever to happen to Donald, if there was ever a reason, Vivek is the most amazing politician he's ever seen and would vote for him in a heartbeat and wishes he'll become the VP and all that stuff. So let me just tell you what he did last night. So first of all, he comes in and his opening statement, right? His opening statement. He calls the Republicans the party of losers, right? And they are. They're the party of losers. Let's just stop on the Vivek thing before we get into it and talk about the party of losers, right? Because it's not just the party of losers. Just think about this thing in Israel and Palestine for a second, right? Just go back to the Israel-Palestine thing for a second. What have we been saying here for a long time, right? That no matter what opinion you have on Israel-Palestine thing, you have to support genocide. There's no other way, right? You can say, "Oh, I'm for Israel's revenge." I've told you I don't. If Israel wants revenge, I'm not going to stop them after what happened. Like I'm okay with that, right? That was so bad, right? That you got to do it, right? Now, if you say Israel should do nothing, well, that's a form of genocide because everyone is telling you what they're going to do. Right? Hamas is telling you, we're like, okay, for today, but we're not going to stop the fight, right? You have all kinds of other crazy people who say what they're going to do to Israel in the future. So no matter what in that fight, you've got to pick which side you want to do the genocide. If you're going to have an opinion, right? If you're going to have an opinion, you don't get to do the I'm against genocide, is what I'm saying. There is no I'm against genocide. I see Saifedean every day online. I'm against genocide. What? It's loser. It's loser talk. And here's how you know. Both sides, the Israelis, this is why it's not just enough to not have an opinion. Both sides, the Israelis and the Palestinians, what do they do all day? They tell you lies about how many people on their side have died. That's the game. The game is not, are we winning? It's, we're losing more. You're dealing with the ultimate victims of all time, the Jewish people from the Holocaust, right? That whole victim narrative, which is, I mean, I don't know how many people died, but it was one of the worst things that ever happened in history. So if they want to take a victim mentality about it, a loser mentality about it, they can. Right? They're totally within their rights to do that. They've continued it now to start saying, well, we lost more people. We're the bigger victims. That's what makes that war just a war of losers. They're literally arguing about who has lost more in history and who deserves to not lose this time. That's that war. That's it. It's just a war of losers, right? And there's no way around that. If you want to get involved in the war of losers, then you can go have an opinion on what's going on in that war. The truth about it is that there is no way to avoid this. That's what the system has brought us to. That's what the blackmailing, that's what the lying, that's what this perverted money system we have has brought us to. It's fueled a situation where no matter what, you have to support losers and genocide. There is no way around it. You've got to support people whose actual idea of winning is that they're the bigger loser. That's it. They're the bigger loser, right? You get the Hamas people. We lost 10,000 people yesterday. And we're supposed to think you deserve something. Remember what Trump did with McCain? Remember that, right? I'm not into people who are getting caught. It's the same thing with this war. It's the same, right? I don't really like losers. I don't like losers. Now, again, I've told you what my bias is after what I saw on October 7th, right? I'm okay with a very high death rate. There's a limit. I have a limit, right? We don't need to share it now, but I have a limit to what I would accept Israel does. I have a limit, right? But as far as revenge goes for what happened, you got to do it. Like, so that's as far as I don't give a shit about the history. You know what I think about history now and all this stuff? Because it's all lies. I lost 10,000 yesterday. You get the New York Times quoting the Gaza Ministry of Health as if they're reliable. And they're saying they lost 10,000 people. 10,000 people? Really? Really? Maybe. But nevertheless, is that your tactic in war? To brag, oh, I lost more people. Help me. No, losers, right? And anyone on the Republican side yesterday saying we got to get involved, also losers. You can't help it. You're joining a loser war. It's a fight to be the biggest loser. It's what happens when you put two victims in a conflict. Who's the worst victim? I don't know. I don't care. I just don't care. I choose what the simplest solution. I don't have a million cycles of my brain to figure out what's going on over there. Like I said, I don't give a shit about the history anymore. I don't care. It's whatever. Like 100 years ago, if the news is fake, why should I believe history? Why? Like now, I have nothing but respect for what I think Islam can bring the world. I saw the other day one reason why some people think this division is happening. Majid Nawaz saying, of course, normal people who have an anti-trans and whatever point of view. I don't. I believe, sort of humans come in infinite variety. And in the future, on a Bitcoin standard, we'll be able to observe that, right? Now, I still do believe the nuclear family has a huge, important role in how humans live life, and institutionally it should be preserved. And I do see a lot of the overlap between the Muslim world and a lot of Christian people, Jewish people, preserving that piece right now. I'm very bullish on the future of Islam for a million reasons, right? And I'm very bullish on I'm very bullish on the Jewish people as well. There's something special about them. They've been around forever. Their history is incredible, right? If I see Israel in this conflict, which I sort of predict is going to happen, my prediction is that Israel will, lessen the bloodlust and show the world a new sort of capacity for forgiveness. I don't think they're going to stay losers on this. They might. I might be totally wrong, right? I might be totally wrong. But they're going to do something that will shock the world, and that is to show patience, to show some form of evolution, I guess you can say. And I think it is going to be enough for a lot of people to say there is something truly unbelievably special about these people, right? And that's just what I believe, right? I could be totally wrong. But nevertheless, what we have now is a complete loser fight. And if you tie it to what we saw in the debate last night, it's the same idea, right? So Vivek comes out, calls the Republican Party a party of losers, calls for Ronna McDaniels, who's the chair of the party's resignation, right? But this is where it gets good. He says the moderators should be replaced by real moderators like Joe Rogan or Tucker Carlson or Elon Musk. So he says, we've become a party of losers at the end of the day. Is it cancer? The Republic establishment? Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018, 2020, 2022. No red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have accountability in our party for that matter. Look at the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate, he says, right? But this is the best part, right? He comes out and says to NBC, who's hosting the debate, this was the best part, right? He says, Vivek Ramaswamy opens the debate by calling McDaniel to resign after election nightmare, said NBC News instead of Tucker Carlson is the wrong medium to moderate a GOP debate, and then points at them, right? And says NBC News promoted the Russia hoax for years and asked them the question, will you finally correct it, right? And of course, they have to give the creepiest smile you've ever seen. We're not gonna, knowing what they did, knowing that they inflicted this kind of brain damage, that it causes bureaucrats like that psychopath who went around yelling at people the other day, it caused that brain damage, and they laugh at it. You caught me, right? So yelling at this woman, Kristen Welker, imagine, isn't he so right? What the hell are they even doing negotiating with someone like NBC? You think they're going to get a fair shake from NBC? And they go and debate with them? Disgusting. It's disgusting, right? It's not just disgusting. It is a betrayal. It's an abdication of responsibility. It's the reason why you don't have politicians being accountable for what they do, how they continue to push things out to other people to take responsibility for them, bureaucrats and all these other people, right? And he comes out and goes after this managerial class for that, right? The unseen thing, his last words. So that was his beginning words, right? He attacked the network, the journalists for being actors, the party itself for being a uniparty, right? He did all that. You had Ronna McDaniels in the audience saying he's not going to get a cent. There's all kinds of people saying right now, right? Cernovich is reporting it. Ronna McDaniel overheard trashing Vivek, telling the audience he won't get a cent from us. That's the person who didn't give Madison Cawthorn money because he was talking about the blackmail stuff, right? So there's a few, now I don't have the source, a few people are saying it, right? About this thing that Ronna McDaniel said, right? Another thing, Nikki Haley told Vivek that he's scum, right? He's scum because she wanted to spend some money on, I'm gonna blow my nose. She wanted to spend some money on more of the fighting. I'll be right back, guys. pardon me. She wanted to spend more money on the fighting, right? So called her scum. So his last words here were, he's got one more too. He did on the drug thing, but that's the border again. We'll talk about that later. So his last words were the following: end this farce that Joe Biden is going to be your nominee. We know he's not even the president of the United States. He's a puppet for the managerial class, right? Buttigieg, managerial class. All these people, managerial class, right? You have the guts to step up and be honest about who you're actually going to put up so we can have an honest debate. Biden should step aside and end his candidacy now so we can see whether it's Newsom or Michelle Obama, Big Mike, or whoever else, right? Just tell us the truth so we can have an honest debate, right? Just tell us the truth so we can have an honest debate, right? So you get him saying all that last night, right? You get this blackmail thing that I think points out what's going on, right? It points out what's going on. It shows the complicity of the uniparty. It shows the lack of responsibility on the part of the elected politicians that they've been shirking this. And only those not blackmailable, like Trump or Vivek, only those who are rich, independent of the system, are able to speak out against it, right? So you get a lot of people saying now that with this, attacking the media, doing these things, it starts to explain a little bit about the recalibration, let's say, the real rot that set into the American system. And I've said it before, right, that the big change that's going to happen with World War III can be summarized in a simple linguistic inventory. Before the Civil War, we would say the United States are. After the Civil War, we would say the United States is. After World War II, we said the Fed is, and the Fed meant the federal government, right? Now, the federal government is a singular entity, right? And so now that we're in World War III, we have the chance, like in all of these huge conflicts that happen every 80 years, the chance to recalibrate the linguistic inventory. Again, my prediction is we'll go back to the United States are. We're going to have a full cycle. And in order to go back to the United States are, it's things like what Vivek did, right? When he flipped the question to the news, because it's the news that's doing this, right? The news is the one spreading the mental illness. The news is the one complicit in not reporting on the blackmail ever, right? They're the ones who are complicit in not reporting on the border ever. We don't know what's happening. We have no idea what's happening. And remember, if Trump couldn't shut the border down when he was president, that means there is a power beyond Trump that he wasn't able to access even as president, right? So when he flipped the script on them and asked the moderator questions like, when are you going to stop reporting Trump-Russia collusion, which is a complete and total scam? She does the creepy laugh, right? The creepy laugh. The creepy laugh, right, looks like what Hillary Clinton is setting up now. So Hillary Clinton goes on TV yesterday and says, well, Hitler was duly elected, right? Trump is just telling us what he intends to do. So now they're going on this fiction that Trump stole the election, right? And when he gets power again, he's going to cancel elections. And they're setting it up. It looks like that's what's being set up, right? Their focus group, comes from Bois d'Arc Obama, grifter expert. Their focus group testing canceling the 2024 election in order to prevent Trump from canceling elections forever. It's a very strong possibility they cancel the 2024 election, right? It looks like it. So it looks like that's what they're doing. And you can tell, just look at the media and the show trial that Trump's going on, right? So we found out yesterday that the wife, this is all from Laura Loomer. I should have put her in the notes. Laura Loomer doing some of the greatest reporting you've ever seen in your life. Just some of the greatest, right? She went and scoured like a weaponized autist all of the social media of the judge's wife. So it turns out the judge's wife, Drogan or whatever his name is, I don't know how to pronounce his name. She's out there saying F Trump and all this stuff. Imagine going home to that Imagine if you were a judge and you had to go home to a Trump-hating wife. How would that work out for you? I think a lot of your convictions would go out the door. He's also, they got like nude torso pictures of him. It's a complete fraud, the case, right? So let me just read what Laura Loomer is saying. I have uncovered screenshots from the X account of Dawn Marie Enron, the wife of leftist NYC judge Arthur Enron, who was overseeing the civil fraud trial against President Trump, and shows that she has been posting attacks on Trump from her account as the trial is ongoing. This is an incredible bias. Less than 24 hours ago, she posted tweets in which she said F Trump. She posted Photoshop pics of President Trump in an orange jumpsuit. She attacked me during my live show last night for exposing her husband, and she is openly attacking President Trump's lawyer, Alina Habba. Have you seen Alina Habba? So he's attacking her, right? So that's what's going on. Jesse Kelly says, the most amazing thing to me is watching people on the right be stunned by the conduct of the judge and DA in this NYC trial. What exactly did you think was happening? He says, do you think any of these will actually be trials? Did you think any of these things were going to be real trials, right? They are all Moscow show trials. Perfect. Moscow time, Moscow show trials. We love them. They're our favorite kind. They're our favorite kind, right? The end has been written. It has been written, right? So, you get those folks doing that stuff. You get and you get the inability to have any confidence in the media. They're the ones causing this brain damage. They'll never report on the blackmail. They'll never bring accountability back to government. It's not going to happen, right? How are we going to do all these things? Well, here's the good news, right? There is good news. There is good news, and it's this. Europe itself, like America, has this bureaucracy in front of the government, so it's not accountable, right? So it's been like that for a while. Yesterday, they did the same thing that we've been doing, you know. And by the way, we talked about the car thing the other day, the 2026 car kill switch yesterday. Well, that went through, so no problem. Thomas Massie wasn't able to stop it. Apparently, in 2026, American cars are going to come with some kill switch. Right? Like, oh, dead. I said it looks a lot like a CBDC or a Vax Pass. It's exactly why Bitcoin Magazine is criticizing the FedNow architecture, right? Because we think it's an embedded, or some people say, and we're willing to entertain the idea that it is this embedded stealth way to get a CBDC without saying to anyone you're getting it. A little bit like what Vivek is accusing the Democrats here, like, just tell us the truth, right? So now Thierry Breton, the EU guy, who's always after Elon Musk, says, now that we have a digital identity wallet, we have to put something in it, suggesting a connection between the CBDC and EID. So they've introduced their new EID, right? Which is more or less this Vax Pass, which will more or less be the thing you need to run cars or whatever else, right? Now, the censorship industry that is attached to those things, I think anyway, will give us the plank Bitcoiners need to sort of show people, not tell people, show people the corruption. And it looks like this. So Mike Benz, just the best. Isn't Mike Benz the best? Have you guys been following Mike Benz? Every day, I love the guy. I get the best content from him every day. So I've got to thank Mike Benz. So he went on to Human Events, which is Jack Posobiec's show the other day, and gave his whole thing. Real Clear Politics did a write-up of it because it was so good. And the quote they took out of it was the following: censorship industry looks like the private sector, but is controlled by intel agencies, right? So the censorship industry looks like the private sector. That's this third party thing, the business case around middleware, the business case around NewsGuard, right? Remember, he's been saying that not only do they want the censors want to get paid. They want to get paid, all right? So he's been making this case for a while, but here's the good news, right? As we learn about the censorship industry, as we learn about how it functions and how this blackmail thing works with the intel agencies, how we learn to understand that policy, voting are unrelated because of the blackmail, because of the censorship, and because of the control of the media, that we're not even in the right most Americans aren't even playing the right game. They don't even know what's going on, right? So just as we were hearing yesterday that they're, sort of low information voters. That's what Glenn Greenwald says. They're low information voters. They are. Americans are either party, low information voters, right? So this thing that he's saying, that the censorship industry looking like the private sector, but controlled by intel agencies, right? So the blackmail and all that. Here's the good news for Bitcoiners, is that understanding this with information is a lot easier to understand than banking. But it's the same story. It's the exact same story, right? That's why my trick would be to try and get this getting sued by the Federal Reserve thing for Bitcoin Magazine enjoined to the Missouri versus Biden case. Now, I don't think it would be successful, right? I don't think I would successfully enjoin the Bitcoin Magazine case to what's going on in Missouri versus Biden is now with the Supreme Court, right? I do think we could be an amicus curiae, so like we could be a party to the trial and speak to it, because I think it fits. But imagine the Federal Reserve, right, to defend itself. This is all I want. I want it to fail. I want an effort to enjoin this cease and desist, which is nowhere near the same as Missouri versus Biden. But I would like it to be denied. I would like it to fail because the only way for the Federal Reserve to defend itself would be to say we're not actually the government, which is our point. It's our point, right? So this whole thing where they look like it's the opposite, right? They look like the public sector, but they're the private sector, right? They're a private bank. So the idea being that we can actually get them to out themselves in their own defense. But anyway, the idea here that if Americans understand how the censorship thing works with the border, with the media, with NBC, with Trump-Russia collusion, with any one of these stories, right? The abdication of responsibility by elected politicians, the shuffling of everything into omnibus bills in order that you're not bound by your decisions per vote to what to fund, what not to fund. This complete stunting of any cause and effect between what politicians do and its effects on the society because they have this fat, sludgy bureaucracy to hide behind. That whole thing, in the end, is a much easier package to understand what Bitcoin can offer in separating money and state than just understanding Bitcoin. Because what you end up understanding is these third parties that are completely corrupted are not incentivized to tell you the truth at all, right? They want the fraud. They need the fraud. A certain amount of fraud is needed to run the system, just like in banking. So the idea that Americans can learn by proxy how this thing works, the censorship industrial complex, and understand how the money, the financial industrial complex, the bank cartel works, is a simple pivot. You just have to turn your eyes in another direction and you'll see the same story. And that is more persuasive to get people to understand the corruption of banking, which is kind of ephemeral, right? It's not physical in a sense. You don't really see it. But that's how we're going to understand how we're incentivized to support loser wars, losers everywhere, right? Or loser ideas. Republicans and Democrats, they're competing and offering you the biggest loser idea. Right? Only Trump and people like Vivek are doing it. Now, the difference is these people are sovereign. So you need sovereigns to be able to tell you this stuff. Kings. They're basically kings, right? If you're rich, that's why I continue to tell everyone the best way to protest, get rich. It's the best way, right? They can't tell you what to do. So there you go. That's what I got. Let me see what the comments say. Everyone's excited about Vivek. Jose. The pendulum swings between centralization and decentralization. Indeed, we got some pendulum swinging here. The live chat is truth. Yes, Knox Huddle. We love the live chat. Why is NBC even holding this debate? Such an epic point. Absolutely. Like, you don't even think about these things. Like, we follow this shit every day. And up until yesterday, I was like, oh, yeah, the debate's on NBC. Why the hell would the Republicans even sit at a table with these people? Would they even sit at a table when they're called insurrectionists, Nazis on a regular basis? And they're like, oh, yeah, let's host my thing now. Get out of here. Ronna McDaniel, space drop. Space drop. Space drop, people. Right? If you go about this stuff knowingly, you deserve a hard landing. A hard landing. Right? A hard landing. Advocacy group. Is there a veteran mushroom advocacy group? I bet you there is. Psilocybin seems like it's getting decentralized localization encrypted blockchain. I'll be your veteran mushroom advocate. We love it. I can't find any. We can handle the truth. Yeah, so he's doing the same thing as RFK, right? Americans who want the truth, which is excellent. I was pry if the movement to decriminalize. Yeah, it was a cool movement, man. The clown world energy level is going parabolic, isn't it? Yes, Chep, Matt for linked offering medical research, PTSD, brain trauma, etc. Getting over the 14th. The USAR. That's every day, man. The USAR. The USAR. We're going back to the USAR. We're going back to it. The sovereign states will indeed rise up. They're not going to take this shit. Yes, actual medically authorized clinics and programs to enroll in. Wow. I don't have peace, just insomnia and bad knees. Yeah, not fun. We all got a little PTSD, though. Vivek, trending on X since debate ended, and influencers in the establishment say Haley won the debate with moral clarity. Yeah, losers. Losers. Moral clarity. Moral clarity. Okay. Most accurate description of censorship industrial matrix. Yeah. I was a prop and rotor mechanic, so I didn't have to do any of that PTSD causing stuff. Oh, great for you, Robert Schmidt. Yeah. Germany's still denying they're in a recession, and that's been going on since January. See Eurodollar U with Jeff Snyder. Europe is all managerial class. The whole thing. Yeah, the whole thing. Understanding the game is vital. Absolutely. I suffered childhood trauma and then carried combat-related PTSD out of Desert Storm. Mushrooms and ayahuasca helped me find my way back. Yeah. You know, I was hearing who was on Scott Adams' show the other day about all anecdotal evidence, not real. But I'd heard some similar stuff that apparently in Vietnam, people had like mass heroin addictions. But when they came home, they didn't even have like any trouble getting over it. Which suggests to Scott Adams that question that we were talking about yesterday, that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's actually connection and friendship. And that it was easy for these people to get off heroin, which they took in Vietnam to deal with Vietnam, and that it was easy to get off when they got home because they had their friends and loved ones around again. So there you go. That's why I wrote the Bitcoiner's Guide to NPC Management. We don't want to get rid of our friends and family just because they're handicapped. We love them anyway. Like, right? I love it. I don't have a problem with mentally retarded people. I don't. So, you know, especially ones that the retardation is curable. Maybe. I mean, maybe not fully curable, but a little bit, right? Yeah, I saw the community notes on the Mr. Beast thing. Yeah, it's two people that are talking shit and they are corrupt as fuck. Yeah. It's like some shitty technocrat and a loser politician. Crazy. Knox Huddle, may God continue to bless your recovery. Yeah. Can we buy that t-shirt somewhere? What t-shirt were we talking about? I don't remember, P-Man. Oh shit, we didn't do the Moscow time on Justin Trudeau. Did you guys see Trudeau? What did I say? I said in 2014, not only would he be the biggest loser in the history of politics, he would be such a loser that he would be a punchline going forward. So he goes to get his fake shot yesterday, and his vaccine. He's wearing a T-shirt saying "Vaccines cause adults," and then the mentally handicapped person that he is, he gets there's no syringe in sight. You see someone cleaning this arm and then putting a Band-Aid on this arm. Oh God, it's so good. It couldn't be better. So vaccines cause adults and childhood dress-up games of playing doctor. It looked like my kids playing. It looked like my kids playing. Unreal. New Beatles song, Back in the USAR. Breakup and Scott Adams equals knowledge. Thank you, Day Everyday Walking with Christ. The Breakout t-shirt. I could do a Breakup t-shirt sometime. Overcoming a physical addiction that just slowly sneaks up on you really sucks, though. Yeah, but remember, we all have addiction is the operating system, by the way. You can't avoid being addicted to stuff. So you have to choose your addictions. Doesn't mean you have to be addicted to bad things, right? But there you go. Curable retards. Are we talking about the? Yeah, we are. Yes, Jose. Well, anyone. I think there's plenty of curable people. Yeah, Bitcoin just a pumping, huh? Isn't it great? Yeah. Isn't it fun? Isn't it fun? Daniel, RFK indeed has a good recovery story. Not only does he have a good recovery story, it's one area that I think he is the dominant candidate on. And it just so happens to be one of the most important things going on right now. And that is because he was a heroin addict. And because so many Americans are affected by this, his idea, I love Trump's Freedom City idea. I love it. I'm a Citadel guy. I believe the future of the world economy is actually building Bitcoin citadels. Like that. That's no shit. 100% what I believe. I think it's going to happen. I think it's one of the most important sleeper industries you're going to see. I think it's what helps Bitcoin mobilize the entire world campaign, the entire world economy. I'm writing a new, now that I'm done the Bitcoiner's Guide to NPC Management, I had some notes and I started writing a bit of an epic tale, Bitcoin and the Energy Monster, which is a little bit about this stuff, how citadels will be created. But it starts with Bitcoiners being sovereign, right? That's part of the Energy Monster, is being a sovereign, which is what we're talking about today with Vivek and Trump and being the guy in the room that isn't blackmailable, right? Really important thing, being the guy who isn't blackmailable and can speak on your own, right? So, 100% I believe in citadels, terraformation, geoengineering, all of these things. So when Trump talks about his freedom cities, I am 100% on board, 100% on board, right? But, the End the Fed Now t-shirt. Yeah, okay, now I get the t-shirt. Yeah, End the Fed Now t-shirt. Got it. I was wondering where I was going with that. So the Bitcoin Citadel thing that Trump is really talking about, right? When Trump is talking about freedom cities, he's talking about Bitcoin citadels. That's what I'm hearing. But the precursor and the better idea for today is RFK's Citadel story, which is rehab spots, rural rehab spots, kind of like poor towns. I see them as like a poor town, right? Where you put poor people that aren't in the city. Remember, all we need for these urban problems is to just did you see the guy in New York the other day on Broadway in Lafayette who had the battle axe, but he's all fucked up on drugs, and someone wrote that he was like a low level threat, like that you would just ignore in a video game. Like he doesn't have the stats, he doesn't have the attributes or the abilities to be a real threat. Right. True, but funny. But nevertheless, these guys got to go, and somewhere outdoors, somewhere beautiful, a kind of brand new city. So I think that the Trump Freedom City thing, although it could happen, you never know, it could happen really soon. I still think that the stepping stone to that are these poor towns, are these cities from scratch that we can build for people who are on drugs, and we can help them get off. So now I don't know if it goes in that order. I just think that if I personally had to choose, right, if I had a magic wand, what I would choose is the poor towns first, then the freedom cities, and the full Bitcoin citadels, because I think there's no better way to prove that this stuff would work than by actually curing some retards that are drug addicts and whatever. Like the way it gives you brain damage from being a drug addict, right? I think is curable. I hope, but it looks curable. It's not a limit on your potential. It's a limit on what you're actually up to. It's like clogging up cylinders in your engine, right? I think they can be cleared out, and I think you can get back to your top horsepower, your top cognitive load, right? You might get back to what Scientific American said as being able to pay attention better today. I won't use their measurements, though. I'm not going to use their measurements. I think that they're related, and just the idea that he's got, like, again, Trump's technique with the drugs is decent, right? I respect it. Trump is a total T abstinence guy, right? Capital T, total abstinence. His brother died of alcoholism, so he just doesn't mess with it, right? So no drugs, no cannabis, no mushrooms. Now it's out of date. It's out of date, right? I think he got rolled by the pharmacy industry like a boomer would, right? Lot of mistakes there, but I forgive him for all of those mistakes for sure. The only things I have never forgiven him for, and still don't forgive him for, and it's why I support, I think, Vivek in some way. Now, the persecutions have changed my calculation on Trump for sure, right? But the Assange and Ed Snowden and Ross thing, not until I get to talk to him about it personally, hear his excuse, and he commutes their sentences and releases them, will I forgive him for that. But nevertheless, I would still love him to be the president, of course, right? Given our choices. But without that, to me, Vivek still remains, in an ideal world, in some strange way, ignoring his other weaknesses, right? Could he be tough enough like Trump? I don't know. Could he be eventually blackmailed? I don't know. I just don't know. So Trump still seems like, but I love Vivek. So there you go. All right. Homesteading, homeschooling, and a citadel is the new wealth. It sure is. Yeah, it sure is. I'm bringing seeds and sats to the Citadel. Awesome, guys. I think Uruguay, because El Salvador will get too much fallout. Maybe, yeah. I was in Uruguay the same time. I went to El Salvador to see Bukele's El Salvador in late 2019, just after he was first elected, and I was coming from Uruguay. At this point, I would not build a citadel in Uruguay. I don't think they have guns there, guys. I mean, you can't go anywhere with no guns at this point, unfortunately. You need the guns. You need the guns bigly. You need bigly guns. That's why people can tell me all the time, oh, I live in a blue state, shitty blue state, Vermont. I mean, I can go to Walmart, guys. I can get anything I need anytime. I don't even got to wait in line. So, and I already got my stuff and no one's coming to get it. And if they try, well, I got other stuff, right? So we're not dealing with that. All right. Should have been day one. I know, Robert. I've been consistent on this show, consistent in mornings. I love Donald Trump. Love him. Don't know what they put on him. Don't know what they blackmailed or threatened him with. I bet it was bad, right? So I can have sympathy for him and empathy for what he went through. I can respect his choice, right? But those are the most important thing we can do now, even for him, because the people whose sentence he didn't commute would have been on the road advocating for him today. So he made a very big mistake. Wouldn't he like Assange out on the street saying, we have the same enemies? Of course. But I still don't understand that. I blame Bill Barr, space drop candidate, Bill Barr, right? I want Arthur Hayes to host the Bill Barr space drop. But we don't know. We don't know what he don't know, right? A lot of people have weird secrets. Look, if you had access to every one of my thoughts and I had access to every one of your thoughts, we would all have stuff to blackmail us on, right? Even Trump, if they could get deep enough, right? But they can't. You can't mind read. So, and maybe he was just smart, right? But we've all got things that would make us weak. So I do have sympathy for him. I think my guess is they threaten the family. My guess is they threaten the family. So look, I don't want to put an unnatural burden on Trump. I believe they threatened his family, and that's entirely made up. I have no proof or whatever. I'm just filling in blanks with my narrative bias, right? So it's a comic book that I'm giving you right now. It's not real. It's just my comic book version of what happened. But that's what I see. I think they probably threaten his family. It looks like he loves his children as much as you would imagine, as much as any parent would, and probably made a choice that seemed good at the time. And I believe it was delivered by friends of his, the friends that would blackmail him, like Bill Barr, people he thought were his friends. That's just how I imagined it. And it's me excusing him in some ways, but not really. Like, I haven't forgiven him, and I won't. Right? But I still pray for Donald Trump's peace and happiness. Of course, I love the guy. I love Donald Trump. I've always loved him. Right? My message after that was, if you don't have the guts to kill the people that did this to you, you got to go. We need someone who'll do it, because I'm not living just because you love your family. I can't live under the oppression of these liars. I can't do that, right? So move along, get someone who will do it, right? Vivek, maybe. I'll take anyone who's willing to pull the trigger and drop these motherfuckers from space. I'm in, right? I'm in. Let's go, drop them. So there you go. All right. Love watching you daily. Thanks a lot, guys. Love it. The only must-watch live stream I currently follow. Great job, Nolan. Thanks, Noxodl. I appreciate it. This chat is a big part of why. So hats off to all of you. Thanks, Noxodl. I appreciate that. And thanks all to everyone who comes every morning. This would be nothing, like he says, if you didn't come, right? We're trying to mimic morning coffee. That's what we're trying to do. Morning coffee during World War III, without the burden of having to fight in it. So there you go. What would people do, right? Yeah, we need to get a space. Yeah, I'm Nolan. Count BTC is just my online name. It's my pseudonym, my Bitcoin name. But I like my fiat name. I'm not an anti-fiat name guy. Yeah, Nolan is Count BTC. Exactly. All right, team. See you tomorrow morning. Thanks for coming.